Hello, everybody. It's been a minute, and we are running slightly late. Sorry about that. We had some technical difficulties. Sarah is supposed to be with us, but she is struggling to get a combination of camera and audio working. But hopefully she will be able to join us very soon.
Yeah.
Notify everybody.
Yeah.
Just
while you're
notify
doing
everyone
that,
that we're live.
yeah. I feel like this season has been over for so long, and I'm like, okay, so when are we starting? It's got to be Grand Prix soon, right? And I was like, okay, wait, hold on. It's still May, Anna. I think just because
Technically, there's still 2 competitions left as well.
I think just because the last couple of weeks have been very intense and long for me, it feels like they were like months, and so then I'm ready. But we're going to talk today about our favorite programs from the season, and some of the news that has come out since we last did a stream.
Yep. I realised we're on fairly early today, so we don't have any special guests, so we are probably going to have slightly less people around than we usually do. But hi, Laura. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
and everyone else who is not talking.
And others, people who are feeling like they have are also missing the season and missing skating, can listen to this when they've got some downtime and catch up.
Hi, Johnny. Also, if everyone else wants to share their favorite programs of the season as well, that's fun to talk about. We were intending to do 3 each per discipline. I have ended up with 5 or 6 in my lists because I can never stick to the rules and just pick 3. But yeah, we can probably get going and have started that. What should we start with?
Let's start with men, because I feel like that was the one that was the most challenging for, I think, maybe all of us to figure out, because weirdly it's the one where I've had the hard time thinking which programs did I like. Sorry, men. I like many of the skaters, and then I kept thinking what programs stand out, and I was struggling a little bit.
I feel like a lot of men are saving their best for the Olympic season, or at least I hope that's the case. I feel like for a fair few of them, it was kind of a filler year where they just were maybe trying something different or just playing it a bit safe. I don't think there were many huge standouts. And I was saying earlier, most of mine seem to be ones that people kept for a second season, rather than ones that were new. I don't even know what order I have these in. So I'll say one of my favorite new programs this season was Shun Sato's Ladies in Lavender short program. I think he's one of the few skaters I think works really well with Guillaume Cizeron for choreography. I think it works incredibly well on him, and it brings out the best side of his skating. I can't remember. I think he said he might be keeping that for the Olympic season, but I'm not entirely positive if I've got that right or not. But I feel like I saw that. And then he'd get something else for the free skate. But yeah, I really enjoyed that program from him this year, and I know Sarah does as well. So if she can chime in at some point, that'd be great. But yeah, I know that was on her list too.
He's got that really deep knee bend in his skating that makes sense. I think that he works well with Guillaume's choreography.
Yeah. Do you want to go back and forth and you do one of yours?
Oh, sure. Oh, I wasn't sure how. Yeah, sure. The first one that came to mind for me as a standout program was Lucas Britschke's short program, where he worked with a choreographer to include pieces of sign language in the choreography, which I think is so interesting. So I want to be like, I give him credit for being innovative. And also, I really enjoyed the program, and I think I would have enjoyed it even if I didn't know any of that backstory. That it worked well for him, and I think he's a skater who you just can kind of tell is like wearing his heart on his sleeve in a way. So I'm like, I appreciate the more emotional the programs that kind of give him that chance to be a little bit more emotive in his skating, because it's not like the most he's not the most like polished skater in that perspective, but I feel like his emotions come through really nicely in a program like that. And
I always feel like
I've forgotten the name of the choreographer who I would love to give a shout out to. So I'm going to look that up, and I will say that in a
I always feel
second.
like he has a point of view with the programs he chooses to do, like whether it be like the previous program he did that was like Africa inspired or whatever because of time he'd spent there and stuff like that. He always has a vision of like what he wants to say with his programs, and I always think that's very special. It's not just like something that's just been given to him by somebody and just like skate to this or whatever. He always has an idea for it.
Okay, I think the choreographer, at least what's listed with the ISU, was Andrea Vittori. So I will say that we'll give some credit there.
I have of my list. I have like 3 mentions for ones that were recycled programs from the year before. One of which was Adam Hagara's short program To Another Love, and I've said before that I absolutely love that program. It made me so happy every time I watched it, and he was just so polished by the time he finished it. Like he could do that with his eyes shut, like blindfolded, asleep or whatever. He just had that routine done perfectly, and kept adding more and more transitions as he got more comfortable with it. And it's a program I really enjoyed. Another one was Vladimir Samoilov's short program, the Fatboy Slim one, which I'm sad to say goodbye to, like the little headphone choreography and everything, because I thought that was so much fun. I love how people like literally thought he was wearing AirPods like the first year he did it. They were like, wait a minute, was he wearing those on the ice? No, he's not wearing anything, he's just miming. And the other one was Andrew Torgashev's short program to Lonfa by Stromae. And Stromae's music works so incredibly well for skating. It's just kind of crazy. When it's performed well, I know there were like 3 Lonfa programs this year. Torgashev's is quite clearly the best. But it is good to see kind of people choosing interesting music to skate to.
That was one of my, I think we had a question, and I had asked people when I was doing my music rights interview what some of the fans' music they were introduced to because of skating, and a lot of people were like, oh, I hadn't heard of Stromae until Torgashev's program, and so, and then the number of people that used it this year, I feel like that it's pretty cool when you see that someone has done something that is that influential like to others in the skating world, that people are like, oh, that was cool, I could do that. Even though I don't always appreciate how many programs then copy something, it is a kind of cool compliment to the original work.
Yeah.
I had Koshiro Shimada's short program, which was to Can't Take My Eyes Off of You. And even though it's a version of it that I'm like, not music I would normally listen to, it's kind of schmaltzy, but it worked so well for him. I felt like it was a program that he never got to skate it like perfectly cleanly, and maybe that's why I felt like his PCS was always very underscored with that program, because I felt like it showed off so many of Koshiro's best qualities, and just seeing the engagement with the audience and engagement with the music and just the presentation that he has. So I really enjoyed that. We'll talk later about Koshiro's ice dance switch that I'm very excited for. But I did want to give that shout out to, I guess, his final single short program.
Yeah. Another one of mine was John Wan's Free to Loco. I didn't like everyone kind of loved that program straight away, and it took me a while to warm up to it. Like it took me a while to like kind of get like the music and the interpretation of it, but once he was like delivering it, it just became one of my favorite programs of the whole season, and I'm so proud of how much he achieved in this year. Like even if it's not world medals or anything this time, like winning the Asian Winter Games, then literally like a week later having to do 4 continents. Like he was doing so many competitions back to back, and obviously qualifying spot for the Olympics. Like he's done very well for himself, especially when there was the injury troubles again at the start of the year, and there always are for him. So yeah, I'm very proud to see him do well, and I really liked that program.
Yeah, it definitely grew on me over the course of the season. I felt like I had to let go of thinking of comparing it to Shoma's.
Yeah.
And then once I had, I could appreciate it more. I had well, okay, so I will go with one. I have one choice that was an obvious one, at least for people who know me, and then one that I thought was that it just came to me as we were setting up that I want to throw in as well for a probably underappreciated. So the obvious one is Denis Vasilyev's free skate, which is something I got to see him skate really well twice this year, and that was something that just gave me so much joy. It's a program that was very ambitious. He really tried to. He worked with a ballet choreographer. He really with a ballet dancer, and to choreograph it, he really wanted it to feel like ballet on ice in a way that I think was very ambitious and challenging because so many of the characteristics that he was trying to incorporate about slowness at times were kind of contrary to what people are, what the judges are often looking for. So it felt like it was a very, there were some parts of it that always felt like this is maybe, not doing himself any favors with the sport as a competitive program. But the final choreo sequence in it, the final spread eagle into the Bauer into the collapse was just one of the best moments in any program that I've seen in a long time. It was like exactly what you want for like the triumphant final choreo sequence moment. So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, agreed. I know Sarah also had Dennis's free skate on her list and Lucas's short program. And she also had Mikhail Shadorov's free skate, which I think we all kind of at first thought this was a very strange mixture of song choices, and it just seemed very kind of like out of left field. But kind of everyone kind of like almost like had a soft spot for it by the end of the season because he was performing it so well. So yeah, it's a very strange program, but it was effective at being memorable.
Yes, it was. The other one that I want to just give a mention to here was Wesley Chu's free skate to the 1812 Overture, which I really liked the construction of that program. I thought it did a really good job with the music cut and with making a program that so part of one of the things I appreciate about Wesley's skating is that he has this certain sense of like, I don't know, almost like he's very dignified in a way. Like I feel like he can really carry that. And so I thought this idea of a sort of almost old-fashioned program with sort of the strong music and classical music and his sort of military-ish costume, I felt like it actually brought out a nice side in performance for him. So, I felt like it was another one of those never really saw its potential this season program, but when I thought back to what had been memorable for me, seeing him do that early on in the season was memorable. So I wanted to give him that credit too.
Yeah, I would think he'd probably end up keeping that program for another year, considering he had such a short season in terms of injury. But yeah, Johnny also mentioned Andres Novak's free, and I was so impressed by that at Worlds. I really like when he like you can tell he's really into his programs. So yeah, I thought that was a very effective program as well. And Laura mentioned Donovan's Hip Hip Chitin, which I was actually more excited about when I saw the music announced than I was by the program itself. I don't know if that's just because he never quite delivered it to its potential. Hi, my cat. But yeah, I mean, I like that he like I think he mentioned like honoring like Ashley Wagner or whatever when he was doing it at Worlds or something, because obviously she did it back in the day. But yeah, I kind of wanted more from it, but I think that's just because it never quite got consistency.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we will say hopefully the men will come through with some amazing Olympic season programs, and we will feel spoiled for choice next year.
I feel like we're going to get a lot of like Italian operatic, or composers, one or the other.
Which, I mean, judging from the things that I just said were my favorites, I won't be mad.
Exactly.
I have a soft spot for the classical high drama free skates. So
yeah, agreed. Okay, I guess we'll move on to pairs because I don't know if we're going to get Sarah back at any point, but I know that hers are very similar to mine, so we're
okay.
not going to be missing out much. Let me just check. Okay. Sarah doesn't think she's going to get back in, so she's probably going to be commenting on the stream.
Okay.
Okay, so I have Faith and Lord Digby's short program to Lighthouse. I was so impressed with them just overall this year, but that short program fit them perfectly and was by far the best program they've ever done. They just look so comfortable, and not just like comfortable with the music, but comfortable with each other, with the layout. Just everything kind of worked for them this year, and it really allowed them to flourish and like move up the standings in terms of like the tier of pairs and prove that they can really compete. And you could see their PCS improve as the season went on as well, as the judges like finally took notice of the fact that they can skate cleanly and they can do everything that other teams can do as well. So I'm just so very proud of them.
I loved both of their programs this season. I had both on my list actually, but I think that everything clicked together. It was like all of the hard work that they've put in on the elements and the skating skills and just the partnering and everything. It feels like that clicked along with them finding out that actually this lyrical style really works for them. And I thought that they had very nice music cuts and construction as well of their free skate. Am I right that the free skate was Mark Hanreddy and the short was Christopher Dean, or was it the other one?
So.
Okay,
I think that was what it was.
Yeah. Anyway, I thought that they had really nice programs for both this year, and that helped to showcase how good they've become. Made me very happy.
Yeah. And Sarah is in chat agreeing. I also had Mira Kiyohara's free skate to Adios. I thought both their programs were incredibly effective this year, and I know Sarah had the short program on her list. I think I'm so glad they're not just working with Julie Marcotte anymore, and that they've branched out and doing different choreographers, because they really weren't fulfilling their full potential when it came to choreography and music choices. And I think this was definitely the right direction for them to go in. Was it like a perfect season? No, they kept having like issues with like popping jumps or stuff like that. But you could tell that creatively they had moved in a great direction. And I'm excited to see what they do next year.
Yeah, I really agree. I enjoyed both of these programs. They didn't make my list because I felt like I was overdoing how many pair programs that I had. But they are definitely my favorite programs that they have had, both programs. I had Kanti Machi's short program. I really enjoyed it, and I think I had a soft spot for this program because I watched them do it very early on over the summer and then saw them just continue to improve it all year and really grow into it, and just the drama. I'm just like, I appreciate that they are, we see them go through all of the emotional journeys and all of the, like, being a couple and breaking up, and then Nico's girlfriend coming up with the idea for them to skate to Carmen. Like, I just love the backstory to I feel like the backstory to this program than just like the extra added to my feeling of the extra slightly messy drama in it. And yeah, so I enjoyed it a lot, and I love their skating, and I really had fun seeing them do something that was expressing not only a kind of softer, romantic kind of feeling. It was cool to see that they have that range.
Yeah. I was like very critical of that program at the start of the season because I felt like they weren't delivering it to the potential it needed to get to. And I think it got there by the end of the season. And I kind of wouldn't be surprised if they kept it for the Olympics because it has such a fierce energy and it's kind of great going into the Olympics with that. One of the highlights of the season was Sarah like clapping after like she'd like landed her jump or whatever she did, or was it with a throw? I can't remember at Worlds. Like it was so funny. She just like was so into it. But yeah, like it became a great program for them.
My others, I was thinking about this and I was thinking, are these programs that I love or programs that have moments that I love? And I think it's more the latter, but I want to give all of the credit to Daria Danilova and Salsiba for their new short program this year. Yep. I thought that they really took a big step up in terms of their choreography and expression, and that their step sequence in that short program that includes this sort of like kind of like leaps on and like clutches on at one point. I thought it was so effective. So I was very excited about that. I think that they're getting, if I'm remembering correctly, that they are getting more work with, I believe that was with Mark Pillay. Am I getting that right?
I think you might be right about that.
I think I'm right.
That was also on my list. I know it was on Sarah's list as well. I'm sad that they are changing that short because usually they tend to keep programs for 2 seasons.
Yeah.
But clearly the judges did not like it as much as we did, and I hate them for that because I thought it was one of the best programs of the year. Like I've always loved that song. It's like one of my favorite Ed Sheeran songs. And I thought they did it so incredibly well because there were 2 teams who were doing that same music, and theirs was very clearly the better program. So I'm sad that it's not going to get like another moment to shine, and that the judges just force them to change it.
I also want to give a shout out to Yulia and Mikhail for their short program that is so fast and fun. And every time that they would end it with her just like sitting up on his shoulder, taking in the applause from there, it would be one of my favorite moments of every competition that they were in. So I really enjoyed that. And I think they may be keeping that. They are definitely getting a new free. But I thought it was a great approach for them. And then I wanted to give a shout out to Leah and Trent for honestly both of their programs. I thought this year they did a fantastic job of pushing themselves artistically and skating skills, and just using this season to develop. I thought they were both programs that initially I was not like 100% sold on, especially their sort of jazzier short program. And I thought by the end of the season, I was completely bought in, and they had both improved so much. So those were exciting. And yeah, and my last one that I think is not unique is that Alyssa and Misha. Their free skate was just. I'm not even a fan of Je suis malade. I'm not like
It's
I'm
not
not
even
even
the music; it's just how they perform it.
I'm not even usually so much of a fan of programs like this. It was just so well done. And Renee Roca did such a good job with that. The little run that they have in it, it was just like, it was everything that you think like, right, this is why pairs can be really special because they are managing to tell a story and bring in your emotions, and it's big and it has to be big, and like I was so there for it. They completely sold it to me.
Yeah. I also had Julia and Mikhail's on my list. I also have Hearts and Volodin's Four Seasons. I think it was one of the best composed programs, and like from the minute they first performed it, you were like, "This is going to be one of the programs of the season." It's a shame they couldn't take it over the hill at the end and win worlds with it, but just like the short let them down. But they really managed to make a moment that the crowd would be with them every single time when you're like building up towards the climax of that program. So yeah, I thought that was one of the best.
I really wanted to like that program, and then the sound effects in it every time would kind of throw me out of it, because I think it's because I have strong opinions about the Four Seasons and cuts of the Four Seasons, and so I was struggling a little bit with it. It was a really effective program, and every time I would kind of go, oh, I wish. So I
also have as the last one, because I ended up with 6 on my pairs list. I didn't have 3. Because I can't keep it at 3. I had Villemore's and Bouvart's short program to the mask. I thought for a team that was new, that was like the best introduction you could possibly like make as a team, because like it showed off their personalities straight away, and they did it so well. But it wasn't like they're coming out in like a bright yellow suit or something. It was a bit more subtle than that. It was just like some yellow suspenders or whatever. But I thought that was a great choice for them for a debut team.
Yeah.
I'll just see if Sarah had any others that I did not have. I think we basically had the same one. Yeah, she had Riku and Ryuchi's short program instead, but everything else we've already mentioned, I think. So yeah, I guess we'll go over to the women.
Yeah.
I will say, without a doubt, my favorite program of the season was Kaori Chicago, and I know some people weren't into it at the start of the year. I think a lot of people were converted by the time they got to Worlds. From the minute she performed that, I knew it was going to be a great program. But I'm a huge Kaori fan, so she can very rarely do wrong with me.
I mean, I love her. I love both of her programs. If women's is the category that I had too many favorites this year, which again, this is not like a few years ago, I was like, all the women's programs are really boring and the men have more interesting programs. And I do not feel that way at all this season.
Agreed.
So I'm, was very excited about the women's field this year. And I was going to say, I like both of Kaori's programs. The only reason they didn't make my top 6 was that I had too many other favorites.
Completely fair.
It was so much fun I mean, this is always how I feel about Kaori, which is like, I'm like, okay, okay, doing all right. Here's all the places I can nitpick, her various pieces of her choreography. And then when I ended up seeing her skate live, it didn't matter. I was totally bought in.
Yeah.
I had both of Alyssa Liu's programs. If I had to pick one of them, I would pick the short program, which is just in my mind one of the best skating programs, period. Yeah. Like one of the things that I would put on a short playlist of things to like show people about why this sport is great. And it only made it better that it was music that she had chosen and that it also matched the story of her comeback and just all of that. But by the end of the season, I was obsessed with her free skate. I loved it so much. It was such a weird choice, and she just showed so much pure joy with it that it just made me so happy every time that I saw her skate. So I felt like it was wonderful to see her do so well competitively this year, and with two programs that every time I saw them, they were better and I enjoyed them more. And just, I feel like big shout out, and we'll talk about this with dance too, but Massimo Scali is my choreographer of the year. I don't know what the ISU was thinking that he didn't even get a nomination, but just across disciplines, so many of my favorite programs this season were ones that he did.
Yeah. I have Lara Naki-Gutman's short program, her Squid Game program, which was always a highlight, but like it's always great because she does something out of left field and something completely different to everyone else, and everyone kind of takes notice of what Lara is going to skate to now because they're like, what is she gonna cook up? And I'm sad that she's not doing that program for a second year because I could have done a whole another season of that program. But I hope whatever she comes back with this like next season is like even better.
I'm imagining her doing it at the Olympics gala. That's my
Please.
dream. It's revisiting that, yeah.
Yes,
And letting it like have
absolutely.
a viral moment. I really would like that, even though I think
Yeah,
she's smart to say this program is this season for
yeah,
her, and that continuing to say like, let's do something even better, like try something else next season.
yeah.
I think she and her coach are really, really smart about
Hmm.
the way that she's been building and continuing to improve and taking risks in a smart way. Um,
And she's very
and
versatile as well because her free is completely different, but she delivers it just as well.
yeah,
Um, she can do both like the fun, crazy programs, and she can also do the more subtle kind of slow build as well.
and she's getting more choreography from Stefan, so I'm excited to see what they cook up.
Hmm.
I had um, Wakaba's free skate.
Yeah.
I love both of her programs this year. And for me, I feel like these programs were also part of the story of her comeback. But yeah, I feel like one of those like skater choreographer combos is like, that's all I want to see is just Shaylin Boren doing programs for Akaba Higuchi. Like that's just so perfect for me. And I actually really liked the start with I'm blanking on the name of the song. The very
Nature
this
Boy.
Thank you. Like something boy. I just couldn't think of it. Anyway, I actually really liked the contrast of the Nature Boy into Running Up That Hill. I thought that it built for her, and that since the best part of the program for her is always going to be the moment where she has just freedom in the step sequence, that giving her that contrast I thought was smart.
Yeah, it's also one of my favorites of the year. And I will just give a little clue towards so far the voting because I've been starting to go through some of the votes, even though we've only been open for a few days. A lot of people are also voting for Wakaba.
Yes.
So if you want to join in the votes, just go to our website. You can vote in the first round until the 22nd of May.
Yes. After all, I'll complain about all of how terrible the ISU awards are, but this is the chance to do better. we
Exactly.
can have good awards. Reno
Another one on my
Matsuike.
list was
I'm sorry,
was
I'm doing two.
okay.
Sorry. I just have to say, because my other like skater and choreographer perfect match for me is Lori Nickel and Reno Matsuike. I thought her
Yes.
free skate was just it was perfect. It was just like
Yeah,
I would watch it forever. She's wonderful.
she is.
I'm like, I don't even have anything to
Another
say. I'm just like, I don't want to talk about it. I just want to
just
watch it
wonderful.
again.
Yeah, another one of mine was Kimi Repon's short program, the Mother Nature program. I thought it was so perfect for her, just in a way that the free didn't really get to that level. Like Gladiator, I always thought would be probably quite a good choice, but it didn't land as well as the short program did, and she just looked like so at peace and so calm, and just like the Mother Nature thing just seemed to work so well for her in that program. Yeah, I thought it was kind of like an underrated program of the year.
Mm. My others, Yuna Aoki's free skate was the tango program. Yes.
Short program, I think, was the tango.
Short program was the yeah. Anyway, that was the program that I meant. And it has sadly been too long since I have seen her. But one of my biggest happy news of the off season is that she's not retiring and that we'll get to see some of her, because I love her and I want to see. I would love to have I was so glad I was able to see her at Skate America this year, and I would love to be able to see her skate in person again sometime. So I'm very happy.
I don't think it's like out of the realm of possibility that she is in the Olympic conversation. I mean, obviously she's not as high up in the standings as some of the other Japanese women, but she's so talented that if she could just deliver for a couple of competitions, she could easily be in the conversation.
Absolutely.
Sarah also had Isabeau's Breakfast at Tiffany's short program on her list. And while Isabeau didn't make my list, I thought there was so much great identity in her programs. Like, both her costumes were wonderful. Breakfast at Tiffany's just fit her like a glove, and her Lieberstrom was gorgeous as well. Like, I will not be able to get either of those costumes out of my mind. Like, just she was perfectly packaged this season.
They were great. I really liked both as well. And I don't typically like the sort of Breakfast at Tiffany's like aesthetic is not the thing that usually speaks to me, but I feel like it worked super well for Isabeau.
Yeah.
I'm just looking because I feel like my list was so long. I feel like I've forgotten somebody. Oh, I just want to give one more shout out to Hana Yoshida, and I thought both of her programs here were really great for her, and I enjoyed both, and I especially enjoyed her free skate, which was one of the best like costume step sequence. Just like everything about that program felt like it fits so well together, and that I really enjoyed that even though she was doing music that lots of people do, she had her own, like I felt like I was watching something new when I was seeing her.
Yeah. She has such an identity when it comes to like how she interprets her programs. And then I guess we'll move on to ice dance. I also had a lot on this list. I think the first one I should shout out to is Orihara Pirinen's chorus line. It was by far just like the most fun you could have watching ice dance this season, was just watching that program. And it's not even just like it was like high energy the whole time. They had like lulls in it as well, and like told a story throughout. And it's so good to see them getting more recognition for the effort they put in to like creating an identity with their free skates. So yeah, I love them.
I thought they were fantastic. They were one of mine as well. I had a hard time deciding whether I was going to put both of their programs on, because they also had one of the most fun rhythm dances. And then I think I ended up, I'm going to say, I'm looking through my list. I'm pretty sure I ended up with 0 rhythm dances on my list, which is just to say that I thought there were teams that did a good job and there were rhythm dances I enjoyed, but none of them that I enjoyed more than I enjoyed a lot of people's free dances.
I will agree with that. I did put one in towards the end, so I'll get to that in a minute. But the majority of mine are all free dances as well. I have a feeling this will be on your list as well, which was and it was also on Sarah's list, which is Tequila Vesluce's Tango free dance, which was just by far one of the best choreographed just choices of a program this year. Like obviously, like people do tangos all the time. This was kind of a different viewpoint of a tango, and different for them because they do a lot of classical and kind of previously last year like very kind of moderny kind of style. This was a perfect direction for them to go in. It's a shame their season didn't quite end as well as it could have done, but they certainly made their mark on this season, and that's one of the programs that everyone's going to remember from my stance.
It was so good. I loved it, watching it all season, and then seeing it live. I feel like I could appreciate different things in it than when I had been watching. Like, I was really thinking this year about how much my perceptions of ice dance change when I see programs live versus on TV, and how much ice dance choreography and the elements are so geared toward the judges, even more so than others disciplines, and then geared toward the TV camera. Sometimes it feels like it was starting to feel like with all of the choreo sequences that programs were very one-dimensional, like literally just pointing in one direction. And theirs was one of the programs that I felt like it worked for me on TV and it worked for me in person, in slightly different ways, but both really wonderfully. And just going to say, both of these programs that we've just talked about were also Massimo Scali. So not that I like trying to be a Massimo Scali stan on here, but like his work this season.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Incredible work. I'll also say Karen Poronico's Carmen, I think. I know a lot of people talk about it for like the smashing up into the boards and, you know, the raunchiness of it. I just think they delivered it incredibly well. It was a great step from them to move on from like Story of a Murderer, Perfume, to this, because kind of like swap the roles around, but it was also very character based. And like the fact that they wanted to do it and their team didn't necessarily think it was a great idea, but they proved them wrong and that they could do it and that they could rise through the rankings making this program. I think it was a great choice for them and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. It really grew on me as well, and that's another thing where I was like, it's funny because when we started off, you were so enthusiastic about that program, and I was really enthusiastic about Kanti Machi's Carmen, and you were like, no, and I was like,
no.
But I appreciated that by the end of the season, I was very into Christina and Anthony's program, and that you had come around.
I'd come around, yeah.
Sorry.
I just need people to understand Carmen when they're performing it.
Yes. Also, I really appreciated so one sort of under the radar choice that I feel like I really liked and the judges clearly didn't was Du Paillage and Nabai's free skate or free dance. They did a Benjamin Clementine medley,
Yeah.
and I thought it was so well done and so smart, and just I enjoyed that program so much. I feel like it really showed off the qualities of their skating, and they're a little weird, like, but in a different, like, or just a little bit edgy. I don't know. I'm not even sure. That's not even like the frame. Like I'm just trying to say they because they're not like it's not in a showy sort of way, but they just seem like, yeah. Anyway, they seem like they're people who are doing interesting work. I feel like we were already in such a like richness of French ice dance that I am struggling a little bit with like my sadness that I feel like all of these fantastic younger teams and the teams that are at Villard-de-Lans are going to not get some as much of the spotlight this year. But you know what? That's ice dance, and they have time. So I just hope, like, even if I don't get to see them on as many big stages as I would like, I'm looking forward to seeing how these teams continue to develop, and I hope that they continue to try some less than obvious choices for their material.
Yeah, Sarah had them on her list as well, and she says like they had some very great choreographic moments that made them stand out to her.
Sarah and I are really thinking alike because I thought
for
sure that was my most like out of left field choice.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go with my most like out of left field choice, which was Manny Roethlisberger's Titanic free dance, which I think I've mentioned on here before, but I just thought it was such a great choice. You don't see a lot of Titanic free dances, like occasionally you see it in singles. Um, but I thought there were a lot of very interesting choreographic moments. I think it could have maybe been performed slightly better, but I think as a program, it was very enjoyable to watch.
Agreed. And also congratulations to them since they got married yesterday.
Yeah.
Um,
One of the off-season weddings. Been quite quiet on that front this year. I feel like we had tons like last year and the year before, and that's like the
yeah.
only one I've seen. Although also, I guess technically it wasn't quite off-season, but Alexei Sviatchenko also got married to.
Oh yeah.
I've now blanked on her name, but their choreographer who used to be an ice dancer.
All right. Mm.
I also put Smart Diaz as June because how can you not put that program? It was, but to most people, probably the standout ice dance program of the season. It was brilliantly put together, and it's the proof of if you just get the program right, you will get a better score than what you did previously. It's like not everyone has to stay in the same order, even though that happens in ice dance a lot. If you have a standout program, you will get rewarded for it.
Yeah, it really, really made a difference for them. And that's, I mean, Olivia said that herself, that it was like the difference between the judges believing in your program or not. And yeah, they could see a huge change. The other one that I wanted to mention was Itani Yoshida, Masaya Morita. I thought that actually I really enjoyed both of their programs, but I feel like especially their Romeo and Juliet free skate was one of the highlights of the season for me. I was sad that they did not make the free at Worlds and get that spot, but I'm hopeful for them for the future. I think they're such a strong team and developing so fast.
Yeah, Sarah also had them on her list as well. I really hope they have a shot at the Beijing qualifier. I feel like they're right on the cusp of potentially getting a spot there. If they don't, I feel like they'll get, the team event.
The team event,
allowance, yeah. So it's good to see them progressing. I do think for a lot of competitions they were underscored just because of where they are in the standings or whatever. They're not being given enough credit. But the one rhythm dance that I put on my list was actually in juniors, which was Freddy Fournier's in the Navy YMCA program, which I thought was so brilliantly composed and the best. I think there were like 3 YMCA programs this year, and I think that was the best. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they do when they go into seniors next year.
Yeah, I enjoyed them a lot as well.
I saw some people mention La Preuve Brissot. I did almost put them on my list, but I found other programs more enjoyable than theirs. But I did think they had an incredible point of view this year. I do like Rasputin, but I don't particularly like the first half of that program too much, so that's why it didn't make my list. But when Rasputin kicks in, it's amazing. It's just the first half I'm not in love with.
Yeah,
and as Johnny said, actually like an out of left field one, which was Taro Peron's free. Sadly, they have now split. But I agree. I thought that was a great free dance for them. I haven't loved the content they've put out in previous years, and that one I thought was really good for them. So it's a real shame that now their partnership is finished.
I forgot I had one more, and that was Green and Parsons free dance. I really liked this year. I thought that was they did that with John-Luc Baker, and I thought that that was such good work, and that it showed off the best of I felt like Michael and Caroline being themselves. Like it was like this was a program that they wanted to do. It's in the style that they like, even if it's not always the style that resonates with judges and but in this case it felt like they were able to get some success with something that still felt very much the kind of work that they want to put forward.
Yeah, agreed. Claudia also mentioned Zingas Kolesnik's free dance, which the first time I saw it, I thought that was going to be a standout program of the season. I thought it had so much potential, but it never quite reached it. I think maybe they did it a year or two too soon. I think maybe a couple of years more experience would have helped in terms of the very kind of complex movements they were trying to put in it, and things would have maybe been a bit smoother. But I thought it was a very ambitious program, and it looked good. It had the bones of something very, very good. Johnny also mentioned Johns van Rensburg, Stefan's free, and Becca Hernandez is free. And I know that Sarah had Phoebe and James's rhythm dance on her list as well. So yeah, I don't know if we have any others to mention.
But this is the year that I liked. I had more. I think this is because I'm getting more and more time being a follower of Ice Dance, but I feel like I had more Ice Dance opinions and favorites this year than ever before, which was kind of funny. Even as I was complaining about disliking the rhythm dance, that I actually had a lot of free dances that I enjoyed this year.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of Ice Dance news
next year.
Yeah.
Yes. You can probably lead with the Koshiro one.
Yes, the piece of news that I have been sitting on for like a year at this point. No, I mean I wasn't sure. I don't know when he and Ikura made the final choice that they were going to go ahead with competition this coming season, and that he's officially out of singles while she is going to continue. I'm sorry. So Koshiro Shimada and Ikura Kushida are now officially teaming up for Ice Dance, and she's going to continue in singles as well. They have been skating together I think initially kind of casually and then more intensively, and now going to be competitively for a little while now. And Koshiro had been considering the maybe Ice Dance for a while because he's been dealing with really just recurring chronic injury that's been making it challenging for him to train the quads at the way that he would need to be competitive. So it's been sort of a maybe for a little while for him.
Yeah.
And it's so exciting for me because I think that Koshiro is someone whose skill and just love of skating and love of performing is so strong that I'm really excited to see what he's able to do. And Ikura is, I mean, they're both such special skaters as single skaters that it'll be really interesting to see what they're able to do. And so I don't know. I have no inside knowledge on anything that that they're working on, but I feel like Kathy Reed and possibly I'm looking at the fact that Caitlin Weaver's at the rink working on choreography right now. I don't know if she'll do anything with them, but I think that would be really fun to see.
Yeah.
To see her work with them sometime. Anyway, I'm excited for this team for a whole bunch of reasons. I have no idea where they'll be competitively right off the bat. I saw a couple little videos. I saw some lifts that they were working on, but it's very exciting.
And obviously stuff like lifts is like the hardest thing to transition to as a single skater because that's not something you are at all prepared for. And it's probably the thing that Daisuke found hardest when he transitioned to ice dance as well. But you've got time. You've got time to work on things.
Yeah. And Koshiro Koshiro's tall and anyway. The thing that was making me laugh was thinking about how we've seen Koshiro be lifted by Daisuke, and so I hope that we see in some ice show in the future that we get to that Koshiro gets to lift Daisuke as well, and that we get a reversal of that in some future edition of Hoyen or something. But it's very fun. Hopefully they'll get some, I'm assuming that they will probably be at the challenger that's in Japan next year.
I'm so happy that Japan have finally gone like, yeah, we'll join in and we'll do a challenger. Like it's been like a decade of challengers, more than, and they're like, yeah, we'll join in and we'll do one. It's like because they would always not really partake in the challenger series very much. They kind of
Yeah,
send people out early on, but then they would just stop.
yeah,
When the Grand Prix started, they just kind of like, we're just doing the Grand Prix, we're not doing anything else. And it's a shame because like obviously like there's so much potential for points and for feedback, and the Challenger Series is a great way to kind of build a reputation up if you are a lower ranked skater or team. So I'm glad that they've joined in and gone, we're going to do a Challenger as well now.
yeah, and it makes sense to me that it's Kinoshita that's sponsoring it, and they're kind of going in that direction because that's been, the sponsor that has cared about the disciplines other than the singles. And so it seems like, yeah, anyway, just it makes sense to me that when I saw that, I was like, great, that seems like a very logical thing. But anyway, logic and figure skating decisions don't always coincide. So maybe I should be surprised, but
I guess we can answer this question before we move on to the other news from Miss Titmouse. I really want to hear, how do you think Sui Wenjing and Hong Kong come back to compete for Milan? Well, that's not confirmed yet. That is rumor. Obviously, Wenjing was training with another partner, but there's been rumors floating around for the last couple of weeks that maybe Kong is coming out of retirement, coming back with Wenjing for Milan. He was pretty injured when he retired, so I'm not even quite sure what condition he will be in to if he wanted to come back to compete. And there's not a lot of time to like prepare to get back in shape for that. I would love to see them back because they were one of my favorite teams. I just don't know what that looks like yet, and if that's a thing that's going to happen or not.
yeah, I would love to see them back. And I feel like even if they were even if they weren't at their level yet, they would still have a pretty good shot at being able to get to qualify a spot. But that's still going to be a tough, that'll still be a pretty tough thing to be back ready in time to both qualify the spot and then be able to be competitive. But I mean, I do think that if they were coming back, that meant that they were healed enough to be coming back, and that Kong was able to. That would be great news. So I'm, I would like to see them. I would like to see them skate together more, even if that was only, It's one of those things where I think, I wish we had a existing professional circuit, because I would love for them to be able to, to see them skate and do new programs, and and have that without needing them to have to be in Olympic medal contention shape necessarily.
I mean, I don't think we're going to be seeing a quad twist anytime soon again. I don't think that would be making a comeback. Not that it would need to, but just be interesting to see what happens with that.
It'd be, but I think just in general, I'm like, Chinese pairs ? Is one of my big like things we don't know at this point going into the Olympic season.
Because like if they're not ready and up to speed by the time the qualifier comes around, I would send the junior pair who are just aging out of juniors, because they are more cohesive and more ready in that field to potentially earn a spot. So yeah.
The other big news that we've had for comebacks is I think none of us saw coming.
Everyone thought it was like a late April Fool's because it was like May 1st or whatever. Was Maia and Alex Shibutani announcing their comeback 7 years after they last competed at the Olympics in 2018. Which is wild because like we didn't even exist then as AnythingGOEs. And like the +5 -5 judging system didn't exist then. there's like so much has changed, but also I think in a way ice dance has become less complicated and easier in that time. We don't really have patterns anymore. There's a lot of choreographic elements now.
Yeah.
So it's going to be different for them, but I don't know. I mean, if they can get back into competitive shape, I think they will be somewhat competitive. But I think people penciling them in for an Olympic spot already are getting ahead of themselves.
Yeah.
Because I remember when Tessa and Scott came back, and they had only been gone for like a year and a half when they started training again. When they first got back into competition, they were absolutely wiped out. Like they were exhausted because of the time they'd taken off, and that was like a year and a half. That was not 7 years. It's very different to get back into competitive shape.
Yeah. I'm interested. I mean, it's an interesting thing regardless when somebody comes back. I feel like they're going to have to figure out sort of where they fit in, not just, as athletes, but like if you've been gone that long and you come back, I want you to come back with like something to say. I like
Yeah.
that's again, that's not that every team is gonna have that, but like I'm like, you got to come back with something that's not just Coldplay, guys. Like I need
Yeah. You can't
I
just
need a
come back with
vision.
another Coldplay song.
Well, yeah, it was making me laugh. People saying like, has Coldplay written anything in the last 7 years? Because it does
Yes,
feel
they have,
like
but
yeah.
let's not encourage that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good point that they're also older. I don't think that older is necessarily the determinative factor. I mean, like we've seen a lot of people who are um, coming back. I mean, I think it's also worth acknowledging that this comeback was delayed probably by
Yeah.
Maia's cancer and having to go through all of that. So like
Yeah.
this may have been, in their minds for an earlier thing, but
And they are technically younger than the top ice dance teams in the world currently, even though those teams have been competing the whole time. Um, so yeah, it's very interesting to me. I wouldn't be quick to say they're getting an Olympic spot. I wouldn't be either to write them off, but I do also think it's interesting that the political landscape of ice dance is a lot different from when it was when they last competed. Marina does not have the sway that she once did. It is very much Ice Academy of Montreal that is ruling the roost in ice dance at this point. Whether that should be the case or not is debatable. But it's going to be interesting to see how politically they stand up to the other teams as well. Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting.
yeah, it's been really interesting to see all of the different opinions that people have about whether, about teams doing comebacks or new partnerships or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, like right before in the season, right before the Olympics. And I think my emotional feeling about that depends a lot on like whether it means that teams that I really care about are getting pushed out or not.
Yep.
So then I'm like, okay, but I am I'm happy to have a deep field. I'm happy for, if teams come back because they want to be there and they're hungry and they come back and they do good work, like, and they earn it, like in the season. I'm there
Mm-hmm.
for that. I think what often feels challenging, and this is where maybe in ice dance it feels that way particularly, is like, the idea that people might get it just because, they might be able to slide back in just on reputation.
Yep.
And so
And I think
that's
that's
where I'm
more
like,
prevalent with the other team
yep,
than this one.
yep,
Um, we are not going to pretend like we are excited about Fournier Bouderie Cizeron.
yep.
We're not,
No.
especially considering some of the things they've said in the press, which are very distasteful. I also don't like the fact that the French Federation when they announced them, acted like this was going to be the savior of French ice dance.
Yeah.
When Lopreve and Brissot have done incredibly well this season, they were on they were on the European podium. They made the Grand Prix final. Like, they had an incredibly successful season, and it's probably not a coincidence that as soon as the new team was announced, that their scores started to plummet.
Yeah.
Whether they performed as well as they did at the prior competitions, probably not, but their scores dropped significantly lower than that would suggest.
The politics
And
of that
just,
were
the politics
gross.
is not great. And that's kind of like a thing with French ice dance previously, in that even though Didier is not there anymore, there was a significant thing when it was PC versus Virtue Moya.
Yeah.
In that, the year before the 2018 Olympics, Didier said, in a year, PC will be standing at the top of that podium. Like, that's literally a statement that he made. And he had a history of manipulating things in the sport. So there is a history of French ice dance with politicalness in that is like, things are reflected in ice dance from that. So
yeah. And I think, and like I already said, I really like many of the young French teams that are coming up through the ranks, and I would, personally, I'm more interested in seeing them on the international field at this point. On the other hand, I don't mind so much the argument about earning the spot versus who gets to take the spot. I think probably because I'm often watching big federations where just because you went to the pre-Olympic Worlds doesn't mean you get to go to the Olympics. Like, that part, I'm again, I'm like, let's judge people. Radical idea. Let's judge people on how they skate. And
I think the problem arises when it feels like someone comes out to take that spot and they do not earn the scores that they get. Mm-hmm. It feels like judges are scoring people based on prior reputation or a vision that they have for the team in front of them, rather than what is actually being shown. Because I felt like that was the case with Vanessa and Eric, in that there were statements being made that if they skate to their best, they will win the Olympics or whatever, which was the most absurd thing in the world, because you hadn't even seen them compete yet. But then when they did compete, there were some massively glaring errors that were just completely ignored by judges. And that really annoys me. And then that mentally affects the teams that they are going against, because then they feel like, well, if they're ignoring all of this, what I can't do anything to beat that. Because even if I skate clean, they're going to give the win to somebody else, because it doesn't matter what they do. They're just going to score them based on reputation or what they want to score them on. But
we haven't seen too, we're in the season for comebacks and new partnerships much more than we are in the season for splits, so haven't been as much of that as there often is in this period, except at least at the upper levels, there's lots of
it's just kind of lower ranked teams,
lots of juniors and stuff. But the exception to that was a little while ago, but we haven't talked about it, was the Finnish pair team splitting, which made me sad. I was really excited for their improvement, but they had a really hard season, and they were not in the lineup. They don't have the citizenship for the Olympics, and so it's definitely a challenging thing. I don't know. It sounded like it was her decision from their Instagram post.
It sounded like that,
where that's going. I
don't know if she has somebody lined up. Maybe with Finnish citizenship, but that would be hard to find.
Exactly. I've always really enjoyed talking with them both. Not like I know them well, but like they have always seemed like fun people and good skaters. So I'm hopeful that they can both find new partners and go on from there. I would like to, really like to see them both continue in the discipline. So
Yeah.
That was my sad thing to see post Worlds.
Yeah. Agreed.
And there's still more rumors about comebacks. Maybe the most obvious one that
Yeah,
we were
that was
hearing.
a weird like statement. I think it was in Russian media that like this is not like the only comeback that is like on the horizon or whatever when the Shibsips announced their comeback. We were like, wait, what else is happening? I don't know if that was about like Sui and Han, or if or if
Or
it's
that they
something
think that the
unrelated.
Russians are, that because some Russians are going to be back in, or
But like, I mean, in terms of women, that wouldn't happen because two of them are pregnant. One of them has a done knee at this point. It's not coming back.
yeah,
Yeah, so it's wild. I mean, like pairs wise, everyone's pretty much still competing, except for like
yeah,
Tarasova and Morozov who've retired. Um, and
yeah.
I don't think they're coming back. um,
No,
so yeah,
I know. I
it's
was trying to figure out like, is there somebody who has a secret citizenship that we don't know about, or like I'm trying to figure this out. I was
you
like,
never know.
because
Apparently, there were some rumors
yeah.
going around today that there is a Russian man who is planning to switch to Uzbekistan. So I guess that's two two Russian swaps to Uzbekistan happening now.
Yeah.
I don't know if any women are planning on doing the same. I know there's rumors about Veronika Zelina switching to Azerbaijan. I don't know if that's going to go through. But yeah, there's been a few rumors like that.
We've seen rumors
We'll
that Ashley
we'll
Kane
see
is
who
coming
turns up
back.
in Beijing.
I wouldn't, and I was just gonna say, I would not be surprised if Ashley did come back. She has kept her eligibility and was, when I interviewed her earlier this year, she was very clear that she's open to it. It's like the right partner, she would consider it, and that she doesn't feel like she's 100% done. And we've been seeing pictures of her posting jumps, so I'm like, maybe. But that will be, as we've said, it's for her, it would just be finding a tall enough partner is
Yeah.
challenging. So,
Yeah, like the only person on my radar who is tall is like Marco Zandron, and I don't see like I've not had any indication that that's on the cards. From what I've seen, he's doing like shows right now with his brother and other skaters.
yeah.
So yeah, it's
Yeah.
certainly interesting.
So we'll have to see, but yeah, definitely. I feel like it's too early in the off season. I'm sure we've got a few more out of left fields that we haven't.
Bombshells to drop.
Yeah, I know. I was just thinking, like, if you could have anyone, within reasonable plausibility, make a comeback, who would you want it to be?
I don't think Tessa and Scott are in reasonable possibility anymore. Because that would always be my choice. I don't know. I would like to see Sweet and Han back. I don't know who else I would have on that list.
I always think about the like who is who retired with an injury or something that maybe we would, surprise would be back, when they had the ability to rest and recover basically. But yeah, I mean, I would. There are a whole bunch of Korean women that,
Oh yeah,
in my mind, I would love to see be able to do that. But
I mean,
um,
Yeonsu, I feel like never fully reached her potential. She was a gorgeous skater. Yelim, I'm so sad had to retire because of her back injury because I enjoyed her so much. I just had somebody else in my head as well, and I've forgotten what I was thinking about. But yeah, there's. I was gonna say, yeah, I was sad to see Emmy Peltonen announce her retirement because she was such an expressive skater and such a joy to watch. Obviously, she had a lot of injuries. She's not so young anymore.
Yeah, I would have
and I'm happy that she's like made peace with that and moving on and doing other things in sport. But she was such an enjoyable skater to watch. So yeah.
Yeah. I had a sudden thought. I think it was one of those things that like you have a dream about and then you're like, wait, was that real or did I have a dream that this happened? I had the sudden feeling that like, oh well, Carolina Coster's coming back. Of course, that's who it is. Like when people were saying like, you know, oh, there's somebody else. I was like, of course that's who it is. And it was like, wait, no.
I was just thinking Nat and Bruce as well, Sarah.
He is probably not going to make that happen. But I had this like sudden feeling that somehow the like magic of Italian Olympics was going to like
just bring back Carolina Kostner.
He is back doing some more shows. I think she's going to be at Friends on Ice in Japan, which is exciting because for a little while there she really wasn't doing much. You know, she wasn't really keeping even in show shape and was dealing with a bunch of
because she had like some injuries or whatever, didn't she? She I think she like crashed into the ice at one point and had to take a long time to recover from that. Yeah, Sarah said Natalie D'Alessandro and Bruce Waddle, who were there's so much potential in that junior ice dance team, and I was stunned when Natalie announced her retirement to just go off to university. Yeah. And Bruce has just been doing singles ever since because he basically said, yeah, unless it's with Natalie, I don't want to be doing ice dance. And everyone's like, Bruce, come on. Bruce, come on. But yeah, I really enjoyed them as a team. It's so wild that there was such a deep field of potential in junior ice dance for Canada, and it all just went away. Yeah. Like, it just nothing survived. It's just wild.
Yeah.
Like Miku and Tyler as well. They had such promise as a team, and then I remember the final year they competed. There was this story that he'd got like severe, like asthma or whatever from where he was living, and was like severely ill, and they could barely train and compete. And I think she's just coaching now, so it's a real shame.
Yeah. My not gonna happen, but dream partnership here is that Natalie Bashinska and Gabriella Papadakis team up and skate for Canada.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'm still like, I'm wondering if we're going to see Lorraine McNamara back, because it does sometimes feel like she's definitely still on the ice. I don't know if there's been hints of a partner. If there has, I can't tell who has been around her. But she was such a talented skater, and I was so sad when she and Quinn Carpenter split, and he went off to university or whatever. Because I think he also had an injury as well that made that decision. But they had such potential as a team that was never really realized when she was partners with Anton Spirodnov. So yeah, I'd love to see her back.
Yeah, and yeah, I feel like it's gonna be yeah, Maddie and Zach. I mean, the real I wish it was plausible is
Maddie and Gabby.
Wyatt and Baker. Well, that also, but I was gonna say also Wyatt and Baker.
Yes,
is like the one that it's like it
the one
could
that
happen, but it won't. But it could.
Yeah. It's so sad because like every time you think, oh, come back, and then you're like, oh, I wish it would be Hawaii and Baker, and then you just see them just like working on something else. You're like, yeah, that's not happening. It's just so sad. Yes, Ashley Slater does have a new partner. I miss Ash and Atle. But I'm hoping, as far as we're aware, Atle doesn't have a partner yet. But I'm hoping they both have like new partnerships that are successful.
And the other bit of news that I felt like I needed to say something about was the ISU allowing AI-generated 90s music, which I hate from about 7 different directions simultaneously. That the whole endorsement of AI is so questionable from both a like artistic copyright perspective and an environmental perspective for an organization that is trying to fix its copyright issues and then is also trying to talk about its environmental impact and the 7 ice rinks worth of glaciers that are melting every second or every minute or every something. I didn't read the full article, but I mean, come on.
Yeah, they literally had a post on the 21st of March on the IS News. 42 ice rinks vanishing every second. ISU marks inaugural World Day for glaciers with a call to action. And then, literally like a couple of weeks ago, they were posting the Studio Ghibli AI art of skaters from the ISU Awards on their social media. It's like, what are you doing? What's happening? Why don't you see ethically how this doesn't fit the message you are sending?
It's so disrespectful to musicians. It's so disrespectful to artists. I'm not, I'm not trying to be like reflexively anti-AI. I think there actually probably is a role for using AI in judging if we continue to go down the road of trying to have more and more precise tech panels. Like, I'm not, reflexively against it, but it's so frustrating. And then for the 90s piece, I just kept thinking, it's so contrary to the whole idea of doing the 90s. If you're saying it's a 90s vibe, well, then what's the difference? So you're allowed to use AI to generate something that has a 90s vibe, but you're not allowed to commission a new piece that has a 90s vibe. Like, exactly. That hypocrisy is mind-blowing to me. It's like
insane. Especially
not
considering
that people were necessarily going to go out and do that, but it was one of the options to get around the copyright situation would be to get an original piece of music. And the fact that they have said original music by humans is not okay, but original music by AI is, like,
yeah. Like a few years ago, or like a couple of seasons ago, they were very specific regarding the 80s. You have to use music from the 80s. You cannot use a cover of a song from the 80s, because that's literally what Guidad Fabri did. They had their first competition. They had a Glee cover of an 80s song, and immediately I was like, you can't use that. That's going against the literal rules that were written down. It has to be the song from the 80s. And now you're basically saying, well, it doesn't have to be from the 90s. It can just be inspired by the 90s. But it has to be inspired with fucking, pardon my language, AI.
Well, and it's another one of those things that's just, sorry, like, this is the thing that, like, artistically I find the most frustrating about skating is that there is so little respect for any of the integrity of the material that people work with, that it's just like, oh, it's vibes, that's fine. It's the lowest common denominator, like, version of a thing that's sort of in the spirit of, it doesn't matter if we mix up the music so it makes no sense with the story. It doesn't matter if we're using an awful cover. It doesn't matter if we're using cultural appropriation. It doesn't matter if we're like, it's just, it's all, even though I say this all the time, it's all vibes and nothing matters, but like in the worst possible way.
It's a sport. Like, why are you making a mockery of something that is supposed to be a competitive sport? Like, it's crazy to me. Like, it's progressively ice dance is getting worse and worse every single season, just because you're trying to create a viral moment.
And
that's literally the whole goal you have of every choice that is made from ice dance since 2019 to now. Every single choice has been made to try and create viral moments, and that's what drives.
And what goes viral? It's the things that people do that are authentic and genuine and interesting, because that's the thing that will resonate with people. It's not the thing that's chasing the trend. It's the thing that's creating the trend.
Exactly. Like, it's Alyssa's short program that goes viral because it's authentic.
Yeah, or it's the bit of the, the exhibition program that Loperev and Brissot did, which is
Yeah.
weird
And
but
then you
captures a
get rid
vibe
of
for the
galas.
moment.
And then you get rid of galas, which is where the viral moments are like happening. When people can be creative and do something out of the box and do something that's not like from the competitive side, when they get to have fun and do something different. That's what you're getting rid of.
Yeah.
You've made galas optional and now everyone is doing away with them. It's insane.
Yeah, and I hate 90% gala programs too, but that doesn't mean that I think that we should be getting rid of them. It just means I think we should be making them better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I feel like the story of me with anything GUE is that I've been slowly being sucked into being an Ice Dance fan and having Ice Dance opinions, and it's a terrible thing.
No, well, I mean, I used to be a much bigger fan of Ice Dance than I am now, and that is because of the slow decline every single year as we get dumber and dumber in this discipline. I still don't understand why we don't have patterns anymore. That was quite literally the element that determined between teams who had the better ice dance skills. And now there's no skill. Like, and now it's all choreography.
And like, I don't care. I love a, okay, like this, and this is where I am not an Ice Dance fan. I'm like, I don't care so much about the pattern dances, though I would like to have them back. I just want people to do things that are interesting, and it feels like so much of what people are doing is not interesting. Like, I'm afraid that I come across as being this like like elitist, like, art for like must be like great art with, whatever. I'm like, no, I love a cheesy program. I love people using pop music. I love people doing things that are for fun and funny and all of this. I just want them to be doing it because they are excited to be doing it, not because it's a thing that they're being like forced to do to chase a trend.
So like I've not been like fully reading the ice dance stuff. Yeah, okay, this is what annoys me. The fact that juniors still have the pattern, great. At least the young ones are learning how to do it. How the hell do you have one rumba sequence followed by one quick step sequence? Those are two completely different styles of dance. Yeah. How are you going to create a 90s program with a pattern that is half rumba, half quick step? What? What is that? What is that? It's completely different styles. Like, I already find it weird that they started putting patterns with themes that don't match, but now you're putting two different patterns along with a theme that doesn't match. It's insane to me. Torval and Dean are still relevant because of elitism. People like elitism in sport. I mean, they're relevant because the media in the UK refuses to acknowledge any other person in this sport over the past like 20, 30 years. So we've just been watching people do Bolero on Dancing on Ice every single year since that program came to be. That has now been cancelled, and they are having their farewell tour this year, so you will probably not be hearing Torval and Dean's names much anymore. But yeah. We'll see if anything, if Fear and Gibson managed to get an Olympic medal, we'll see if there's any acknowledgement from this country that there are people other than Torval and Dean.
I feel like we should, sorry, I've got somebody mowing the lawn loudly outside, so I don't know if you're getting background noise. But I was just going to say, we should give one more push for the Anything GOE Awards. Please go nominate people, go vote, and do that. And
we have heard a couple of people trying to bot. You are very obvious when there are 1,000 votes for the same like two people over the course of about 20 minutes. You're all deleted. I kept like 3 of those votes. You're not getting 1,000 votes. You're not getting that.
Yeah, but definitely go vote. And I say, as the person who has Olympic bills for Olympic hotels coming due, we very much appreciate everyone who is part of our Patreon, which I think many of the folks who are watching this random stream live are. We highly appreciate you.
We
and
do.
if you're not yet a member of the Patreon, we would love to have you join us and join us on Discord, where we can obsess about whatever new piece of drama will come out over the off season.
Yep. There are different tiers you can subscribe to. So like we have a novice tier, a junior tier, and a senior tier, and I think there's still a producer tier, which is a nice big bundle of cash that will help us. We also have, I mean, visiting our website gives us a little bit of money. Watching our videos on YouTube and subscribing, that helps us as well.
Mm-hmm.
And liking. We also have a Redbubble store where we have a few pieces of merchandise where you can buy stuff there as well. All of that goes towards.
I have ideas for new merchandise, so we should talk about. But so
I also had some stuff that I was planning last year, but I haven't materialized yet as well. But yeah, we're always trying to bring more things. So we will probably next time see you for the awards when we get to the end of that, which will probably be not quite a month, but maybe a month, because we've got to do the first round of voting for 2 weeks, and then we got the last round of voting for the next 2 weeks, and then
we will maybe have Grand Prix assignments by then. Maybe
we may well. I will also have my Grand Prix assignment preview post up maybe today or tomorrow. We had a little exclusive preview for that on our Patreon last week. I think the only change I have to make since I wrote that is Koshiro now. Is taking him off of the list. But yeah, that'll be out soon as well, along with other things that we'll have written up at some point. So see you all soon. There'll be more content on the way.
Yay.
Bye, everyone.